it's David here from Beyond the Kingdoms, and I'm reporting in today with something very important. My top 10 tips to know when visiting this year's not-so-scary Halloween party. I know that the Halloween season starts way too early at Disney World, but I think September is the appropriate time to visit this event and share some key tips with you. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, but we've got lots to cover today, so let's get right to it. Now, I've tried to change up this year's Halloween party tips to be more specific for 2019. But one that I have mentioned before that I must reiterate is to arrive as early as you can. Some newbies to the party seem to really miss this, and it's perhaps the most crucial tip to know. With a not-so-scary ticket, you can enter the Magic Kingdom as early as 4 p.m., even though the party doesn't officially start until 7. This is certainly one of those scenarios where the early bird catches the worm. If you're a DVC member, you can enter the park as early as 2 p.m. with a party ticket. This will certainly give you an edge over everybody else. And if you're really splashing out and enjoying a full day at Magic Kingdom with both a regular daytime ticket and a party ticket, don't forget to pick up those party wristbands as early as you can as well, because you will need them to start lining up for those characters. Now, of course, those entering the park at 4 p.m. will get theirs straight away as they enter by the train station, but for my regular daytime guests, you can get party wristbands near Tortuga Tavern in Adventureland, PhilharMagic in Fantasyland, and in between the Laugh Floor and Buzz Lightyear in Tomorrowland. And I would personally plan to go to the location that is closest to the first character you plan to line up for, which takes me to tip number 2. I like to start my evenings at the parties by being one of the first in line to meet a character. And Jack and Sally remain to be the most popular guys to meet. If you want to meet these two, I recommend getting in line for them straight away. This is why arriving as early as you can is really important. This year, I got my wristband by 3:50 and made a beeline to Town Square Theater. As you can see, you'll probably still see a few people in line when you arrive at 4, because remember, those DVC members can get in earlier. Now, Jack and Sally usually begin meeting guests at 4:30 p.m. Of course, that can always change. Even though I lined up at 4, I still didn't get out of here until 6 p.m., believe it or not. So yes, you will wait close to 2 hours to meet them, even if you're doing this early. Now, I know that's a long time to wait for some characters, but if you're going to do it, these are the best 2 hours to kill because the party doesn't really kick off until 7. The line does decrease a little bit as the night continues, but I find getting to the front of the park later in the night out of the way and kind of risky, because it can clash with seeing later showings of the parade and stage show. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My point is, do the popular characters first. For Jack and Sally, line up first thing and get them out of the way to have the rest of the night open. The same will apply to Moana in the Tiki Room, because she usually starts meeting guests around 5:45 to 6, and the Seven Dwarfs back at Pete's Silly Sideshow. These guys usually come out between 6:15 and 6:30. All of the other characters come out promptly at 7 p.m. If you're skipping the popular ones like Jack and Sally, you can do other things from 4 to 6, but I wouldn't leave it past 6:15 to line up for a less popular character. That way, again, you can be one of the first in and out. No matter who you want to see, it's the best way to start a party. Let's now talk about attractions during the party. If meeting characters is not a priority, my next tip is to ride those easy, low wait time attractions from 4 p.m. to 7. Think of things like the Magic Carpets in Adventureland, or It's a Small World in Fantasyland. I personally don't spend the official party hours doing a lot of rides because there's so much to see and do during the actual event. So I like to keep things moving in these pre-party hours by doing those easy attractions first. But there are some specific ones that you want to hold off and do later in the night. If you're hoping to get on something like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, leave it for the end of the night. But I will have to admit to you that if you're expecting to see minimal wait times during the Halloween party, you're going to be out of luck. If you want to do an event that is focused on just riding things like Peter Pan over and over and over again without waiting at all, go to Disney After Hours. The Halloween party is really about special offerings now, as opposed to experiencing the Magic Kingdom with fewer guests. Just don't skip the Haunted Mansion. It is a must during the Halloween party. If anything, just make sure you stop by and see some of the characters on the front lawn. It's a lot of fun. Alright, so I've covered what to do and how to start your night in those early pre-party hours, so my next tip is what to do at 7 p.m. when everything officially kicks off. This is actually a really tricky time, because right at 7 p.m, guests rush those candy trails and they start to line up for the characters. I personally do a candy trail or two at 7 o'clock, but more often than not, I regret it, because the lines for the candy trails are at their worst at the start of the party. So my tip really is to not get stuck in something too crowded when the clock hits 7. Don't rush those Halloween offerings at this time, because you'll just be a sheep with the rest of the crowd. Again, stick to those easy minor attractions at this time and just wait for things to settle a little bit. Now, speaking of candy trails, I want to give you guys some tips on the best trick-or-treating stations during the party. As I mentioned in my guide and review of this year's event, there are a few changes to the candy locations for 2019. Overall, I find most of the trails in the Frontierland area to be the most challenging. The locations by Miners Cove and Splash Mountain seem really far removed from the other offerings during the party. And there's always that possibility that you're going to get trapped back here during a parade. I also find that the trails in Adventureland get pretty bad too. There are a lot of characters in Adventureland and there just doesn't seem to be enough space. Personally, I think the trails in Fantasyland and Tomorrowland to be the best ones to hit. These areas are just more manageable during the party, and the two best trails are in these locations. This year, I discovered that PhilharMagic and the Laugh Floor were the only two trails with 2 candy bucket stations. And I always find the trail by Carousel of Progress the shortest, and it's the easiest one to loop around a few times. And make sure you bring your own candy bag, because the ones that Disney give you are pretty small. I really like to stock up on my candy. Now, because I just mentioned PhilharMagic and the Laugh Floor, and we're already halfway through the tips, I want to talk about where to take a break. These events at Magic Kingdom can get jam-packed with excitement, and they can feel like marathons if you're trying to do it all. So it's always important to stop and catch your breath. Which is why I enjoy trick-or-treating at these 2 specific locations. Because in between the 2 candy bucket stops, you can sit and enjoy some entertainment. PhilharMagic usually plays The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, but new for 2019 is the Laugh Floor. The show runs continuously throughout the night and guests can come and go as they please. It's the most entertaining way to recharge and get some candy. Another great way to take a break is on the People Mover, because it's easy to get on and very relaxing. Now, this last suggestion may sound counterproductive, but hear me out on this. The dance parties, specifically the Descendants dance party inside Cosmic Rays, is a good place for a break for the adults. Because this is an easy way to let younger guests blow off some steam and dance around while you sit and watch. The music certainly isn't relaxing, but just an opportunity to rest your feet is worth it. Next, I want to talk about special photo ops during the party, because I really haven't covered that yet in this year's videos. There are 4 main areas if you're hoping to get an exclusive Halloween party magic shot. All along Main Street, you'll find several PhotoPass photographers, and this is where you can get those magic shots like this one with a potion-filled cauldron, or a flaming pumpkin head. You can also get a magic shot here with the ballroom dancers from the Haunted Mansion. Which takes us to our second photo location. The entrance and exit area of Haunted Mansion is filled with magic shots. I personally love the one that you can get holding the lantern up to the attraction sign, or the one with the ghost riding the horse-drawn hearse. Now, new for 2019 is this special magic shot featuring the evil queen from Snow White. You can get this one by the castle wall behind the carousel. And of course, the Main Street Bypass, or Market Street, has several photographers where you can get some fun family pictures. If you're not rushing to line up for a character early, this is another good way to start the night before 7 p.m. because you have plenty of time to get that photograph and get a candy starter pack. But the best magic shot, in my opinion, is the one with the Headless Horseman, which you can only get at the entrance to the Magic Kingdom in front of the train station. Now, this and all of the other Halloween magic shots start at 7 p.m. So, since I suggested to enter the park at 4, it's best to do this one on the way out. Photographers for this specific magic shot will stay here even beyond 1 a.m. sometimes, so it's a good nightcap to the event. Alright, next let's talk about some food. You may have heard this tip before, but again, it's a crucial one. Make sure you eat a big late lunch before attending the party. Now, I say this for multiple reasons. First of all, as you can tell, time is everything during these parties. I find it best to arrive with a full belly and just snack for the rest of the night. I also say this because some of the smaller, less popular quick service restaurants and the table service restaurants are closed during the party. So, the remaining locations can get really crowded. Don't worry, there are plenty of places to get food because Cosmic Ray and Pecos Bill are open, but because there are just fewer places to eat, these places get packed. And remember, mobile food order will become your best friend in these situations. Okay, tip number 9. I can't believe we're almost at the end here. What's the best way to watch the parade? Mickey's Boo to You Halloween Parade is one of my favorite elements to the party, and it can only be seen at this event. The parade happens twice a night at 9:15 and 11:15. It starts in Frontierland, circles the hub, and makes its way down Main Street. My veterans know that watching the second parade is a much easier way to score a prime spot. But I know some of you with little ones go to the earlier showing. If so, may I recommend staking a spot near the hub? Frontierland may seem like an easier place to be, but in the past, I was stuck behind some people on the south side of the pathway. Now, I found that if you're under a roof in this area, you may get an obstructed view of the parade, so it doesn't really work out well. Main Street is of course fantastic, but it's a harder thing to score, especially at the first parade. And if you want that prime spot at the end of Town Square, that is roped off during the second parade for guests who booked the Cruella's Hideaway Dining event. I discussed this in more detail in my review video, so if you want to learn more about that, click on the video in the top right-hand corner now. Now this is why I think that the hub can work out really well. If you're not sitting on the curb and behind some people, there are just less obstructions in the way. And after the first parade, you can pretty much just sit tight and wait for the fireworks at 10:15, because you're already positioned in a pretty good spot. In this case, it's actually better to be a little bit closer to the castle for the fireworks so that you can see that new Jack Skellington puppet. And if you really wanted to, you can just keep hovering in this area for the 10:45 showing of Hocus Pocus. Now, I preferred to watch the second parade and the midnight showing with the Sanderson sisters, but if you need to do an earlier time, grab that spot in the hub for all three. And finally, we get to tip number 10, which is actually something to consider first and before all of the other tips. And that is whether or not to get the new Halloween Party Pass. During the first night of the party this year, Disney announced that guests could purchase a special ticket that allows you to enter all of the Halloween parties for the season, with the exception of Halloween night, which I wouldn't recommend going to anyway because it's always a sellout night and packed. The Halloween Party Pass costs $299 plus tax. Personally, even though I love the Halloween party, I wouldn't do this because I would rather spend that money elsewhere. But if you live locally and you really love this event, this becomes cost effective if you want to go more than 3 times. Because a single night party ticket is around $80 to $100 depending on the exact night you go. And if you're on the fence about this, you can upgrade your ticket to the Party Pass and simply pay the difference. Just make sure you do this before the night is over, because I don't think Disney will allow you to upgrade and pay the difference after you've attended the party. So there you have it, friends, my top 10 tips to know before attending this year's not-so-scary Halloween party at the Magic Kingdom. It's a lot of fun for those of us who don't like the scarier side to Halloween. But like with anything at Disney, being ready and prepared will go a long way. So if you want more tips and a guide to this year's event, head to beyondthekingdoms.com to download a free pocket guide. But that is certainly all the time I have for today. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.